Oh, hey! I'm glad you're here. At the time of this recording, we are deep into one of my favorite times of the year, fall. The air is cool, we all put on layers, and the leaves change color and descend to blanket the ground. The rain eventually comes and ushers people inside, thus quieting the world. And as an indoor kid, I'm a big fan of that. Growing up in a video store, it was the perfect environment to select a slasher film or a ghost story, slide the window open to hear the wind and the rain, wrap up in blankets, and feel like you get lost in the world of the film. Halloween from 1978 was great. Evil Dead from 81 has a lot of bad forest stuff. The Watcher in the Woods in 1980 has the right vibe. And Soon the Darkness from 1970 fits that chilly bill. And maybe it's a Pacific Northwestern in me, but you can't go wrong with Don's La Forêt, which I believe is Into the Forest, which is French, from 2016. Eventually things go beyond my control and I would be forced to return to the world. And I walked everywhere possible, so I quickly took a page from movies and would create a soundtrack for my ventures to school and eventually work in the video store. I would pore over my boombox as I concocted the perfect mix of music. I'd put the cassette in the Walkman, pull up my hood, and set off into the cool gray fall. My feet pounding the wet pavement to Depeche Mode, But Not Tonight, Joy Division Atmosphere, and The Cure, A Night Like This. Stomping through wet leaves to Pink Turns Blue, I Coldly Stare Out, Skeletal Family, She Cries Alone, and Shriekback's Nemesis. I mean, you get the idea. Which brings us to today's episode. The guest would have fit perfectly into most of these mixes I made for people, and I made them for everybody. I've literally had people come up to me and say, "Didn't you make me a mixtape of the weirdest music?" That's true. I did. I would make a mix for anyone. If you want one, just hit me up, and I'll probably make it and send it to you. The episode is kind of like a 2 for Tuesday, which in the mom-and-pop video store world is a rent one, get one free. Because this is two of my favorite things. It combines a film that I really enjoy and a band that I'm very, very passionate about. And it was wonderful to have a chance to talk to them and for them to watch the film and give us a hot take on that. So without further ado, the film is Black Roses, the guest is a musician, and this is VH Us. Hello and welcome to VH Us. I'm your host Dirk Marshall, and I'm joined in the studio via satellite for the first time ever by a guest who's a musician. I'm talking, of course, Jeff from Tuff.
It's all true.
Thank you for being here, or being there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
People can find out more about you from your website, tuffturf.bandcamp.com/music.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other
that works
websites?
Yeah, tuffturfusa.com, on Instagram, American_Scream. And I'm all over there, all around, all the social networks.
Okay, great. I didn't find you on Twitter. What's the Twitter handle?
@JeffIsGarbage.
Okay, of course. That explains why I didn't find it.
If you're listening to this, don't @ me, though. Don't @ me. I'll Twitter battle you right now.
Oh, goodness. Okay. This is Tuff Turf indeed.
Tough indeed.
I got to ask, of course, up top, is the name of this music project an allusion to the James Spader movie?
Yeah, it's definitely where I got the name from, for sure.
That's awesome. And the reason I'm joined via satellite by Jeff is because we're brought together by the film Black Roses. Was this a first-time watch for you?
It was. The first time I ever saw Black Roses.
Awesome. And I chose this for a specific reason. The band Black Roses are mid-tour in the film, and Tuff Turf is also mid-tour right now.
Correct.
So you just completed a portion of your tour, and then you have a second leg coming soon?
Yeah, just did a quick 5-show run at the end of July in the Northeast USA, and in October doing a little bit of a longer run in the Southeast. I think it's like 11 shows or something like that.
That's awesome. And how'd the first leg go?
It went pretty good. Between 5 and 10 shows is usually as much as I can even take anymore, to be honest. But so it was good. It was nice and short. Awesome.
And I first heard of you because like a lot of people, I do 31 and 31, where you watch 31 horror movies in 31 days. And this last October, I themed the days of the week, and so it was Heavy Metal Mondays. So Black Roses was one of the movies I revisited. And at the same time, I make a mix CD for my wife every year, a different Halloween themed CD. And digging deep through the internet, I found a thread where people were just recommending songs, and a lot of it's always like Oingo Boingo or something that you've seen or heard 1,000 times. And then
Mm-hmm.
somebody had put Tuff Turf, Digging My Own Grave. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, I don't know what this is. And so I looked it up and I instantly was hooked. And I was like, I have to get this album. I got Hunger and Haunt, and I
Mm.
absolutely love it. And I described it as goth new wave Springsteen, and I hope that's not offensive.
I'll take it. I'm from New Jersey, so any
Okay,
kind of Bruce Springsteen reference or anything like that is accepted, and I'll take anything I can get at this point.
awesome. And I became obsessed, which is something that's always happened to me since I was probably 14 or something. First finding my own musical tastes, and which I had to write to every single band and let them know that I was like, hey, you're great. I appreciate this. And I don't know if any of it really got to a lot of those people, but I got
Mm.
to you through Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and then you let me know that in just a couple months, Night Finds You was arriving.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I lost my mind because I couldn't wait to hear it, and it was even better than I anticipated. It's an incredible album, and I gotta say, it's available now on compact disc, cassette, and vinyl. Which I mean, I have to get the vinyl. I already have the album, but I just
Mm.
need that record situation, you know?
Yeah, it's actually the first 12-inch I ever did. I'm not really a vinyl collector myself, so it's not something I ever really was really necessarily into. But for this one, I decided to go for it just to do it more
Yeah,
than anything. It came out really good. It looks good. Sounds good.
yeah. I'm very excited. Another note I made is that I feel like I can hear your sunglasses in your voice.
You can hear my
Yeah,
sunglasses
if that
in
makes
my
sense.
voice.
Like, I can tell you're wearing sunglasses at the time of the
Hmm.
recording. I don't know if that's a reality, but there's just something about the general vibe of Tough Turf's music that is just totally, for a lack of sounding uncool, it sounds cool.
Sure, I'll take that. You know, gotta hide your eyes, hide your intentions. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
And I also admire you as a vocalist because you sound, when you're singing, as if you're just barely tethered to the world almost. Like you're just lost within the music. And there's something
Mm.
engrossing to that as a listener.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not really. I don't consider myself a singer. I never really have considered myself a singer.
Hmm.
I sing my own songs because who else is going to sing my songs that
Oh,
I write?
that's great. I love that.
But yeah, so I'm glad you're digging it. But yeah, never really considered myself a singer. Never really thought about myself that way.
Interesting. What
I
about,
just kind of do it.
yeah, oh, that's lovely. Um, maybe Black Roses started the same way. I'm not sure. But at the time of this recording, the DVD can be found from Synapse Films. In Portland here, you can rent it at Movie Madness, or if you have to, you can stream it on Amazon Prime. I recommend buying it because it's a wonderful addition to any collection. The synopsis of the film is a small town teacher, played by John Martin, saves teenage souls from a heavy metal rocker, Sal Viviano, and his band from hell. Pretty much covers it.
Yeah, that sounds like Black Roses, and it has a very strange like original soundtrack. Like not the songs, the actual music. It's like
Yeah,
some of it feels like it's like stolen from like a sitcom or something.
yes.
It's really weird.
That's the weird. I mean, we'll just jump right into that because I think, and I don't mean to upset whoever the person was that did the score for it, but I feel like it does the film a major disservice because there's like the weirdest music cues and orchestral hits and like stuff
Yeah,
that sounds like it's from like a Sword and Sandals movie or something where they'd be going up a
yeah,
hill to fight like a claymation ogre or something. It's just
yeah. Exactly,
it's so weird.
exactly.
I mean, just go all metal. Why wouldn't it just be?
Yeah, it's really strange.
It's super
I don't
weird.
know. Has a weird pacing to it
Yeah.
because of the music, but the songs in it are good, so
Yes.
that's cool.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Before we get too into the specifics, let's put it in context. So the director, John Fasano, he did Rock and Roll Nightmare in 1987, Black Roses in 88, so that's his second film, and then Jitters in 89, and then a couple TV movies after that. The cinematographer is Paul Mitchnick. He did Black Roses in 88, The Jitters in 89, and then the Highlander TV series in 1996. The film was edited by three people, including the director. And then the actors, we have John Martin, who was the teacher. He was in General Hospital from 63 to 91. He did a ton of TV, so Three's Company, T.J. Hooker, Dallas, Black Roses in 88, One Life to Live, Columbo, Days of Our Lives, and Young and the Restless, just to name a few. He also was the Marlboro Man in print, so we probably all saw him smoking those cigarettes. Next actor is Ken Swafford. He was a TV beast since like 1962. He was in Annie in 82, and in just 88, just to show how much work this man was doing. He was in Simon and Simon, The Wonder Years, Dynasty, The Highwayman, Black Roses, Murphy's Law, and Dallas, all in 1 year. That's crazy. He did Thelma and Louise in 91, but from 85 to 92, he was in 11 episodes of Murder, She Wrote.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Right? And then the last actor I'll talk about is Sal Viviano, because, of course, he's the leader of Black Roses. And he did this film, and then he did Jitters in 1989, and then The Cosby Mysteries in 95, which is weird because those were just solved recently. His wife, Liz Larson, was frequently on Law & Order as the medical examiner. And I looked her up, and I was like, whoa, I do recognize her, but Sal was never on there. And then lastly, Julie Adams, who many know and love because she is the lady in Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Whoa.
Yeah, she's completely unrecognizable in this as the sort of Tipper Gore character. But
wow, what an all-star cast of Black Roses.
Yeah, and then
got real stars.
Yes, and starting right at the beginning, we got a weird sax intro. Some shots of the city or town, and then instantly the best heavy metal band ever.
Definitely. My girlfriend Lindsay told me that the music from this movie was made by the guy or girl from what's the name of the band? King Cobra. So that's interesting. King Cobra is actually kind of a cool heavy metal band, so I'm not surprised that the songs in the movie are good.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'll have to look it up because the second this performance started, and I hadn't seen it since October, and I instantly just turned to my wife and said, I love this movie. It's just, there's something about that demon band in the beginning that I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah. And that whole section, Me Against the World, that was a reshoot. The distributors wanted more demons. So originally the movie started with just the guy at the door trying to stop the band, and then the doors bursting open. That was like the original beginning. So they tacked that on, which is probably why the prosthetics are far better than the rest of the film, because they were done by Dan Platt, who worked on iRobot, and Bill Basso, who worked on Jurassic Park.
That makes a lot of sense, because one of the first things I was thinking of this movie after I watched it was like, at the end of the movie, like, it wasn't the same as at the beginning. Yeah. And the end was way worse. I was waiting for them to come out as like the demon band singing again, but never got there. Spoiler alert. Spoilers.
Yeah. This film takes, I watched it just last night again with my brother-in-law, and it was so fun because anytime something was about to happen, you can pause it and just turn to the person and be like, a million guesses, and you won't guess what's about to happen in this movie.
Yeah, it's a wild one. It's all over the place for sure.
Yeah.
You there! I've got a court order to shut you down. We're going to close this show.
So then the squares show up to shut down the concert. The audience turns into zombies, and then we have the title sequence with synth strings and an animated Ivy, and one Lamborghini drives over the logo, and the other one drives under the logo. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, those effects are actually really cool.
Yeah,
those title effects.
If Lamborghinis are the perfect car for a satanic band, what would be the perfect car for Tuff Turf?
Perfect car for Tuff Turf is definitely a Dodge Charger.
Oh,
that's what I got.
Nice.
That's what's in the video for Closed Up, and Dodge Charger V8. Gotta guzzle that gas up.
That's great. I'll put a link to that video for sure. The band gets out of the car. They throw the devil horns. It's a wonderful intro to the band taking on the small town. And then we get shots of the small families. And in 80s films, they love to introduce families eating breakfast.
What is that?
That's my record cover.
Black Roses?
It's just a record cover.
So that's what we have happen here. Everyone's eating their breakfast, and they're all saying basically the same things. Originally, all of these sequences were about 5 minutes each, and then the editor was like, these are all repeats. You just need these people saying this one time. We know the show is happening soon, and so they cut it all into basically like a montage almost. Then we see the band putting up posters for the show. Do you have to do everything yourself, the booking, the promoting?
Yeah, I pretty much handle all of my own business at this point. I run my own label, American Scream Records. And basically through that, I release all my music. And then in terms of booking shows, I do it all myself. So I handle making all the flyers, etc.
And do you design everything, or do you find designers? How does that work?
So in terms of like the graphic design, just making everything like kind of line up and look the way I want it to look, and I do it myself. But a lot of the depending on which artwork, like for some of the flyers, I'll take old horror posters or something like that. But for like the cover of the cover of Night Finds You is just a picture of me, and then just depends on which stuff. Sometimes I work with designers, but I usually do it all myself.
Yeah,
Photoshop skills.
Because I really like the sweatshirt that you have on the website that I bought.
Yeah, so that one was made by a buddy of mine. You can look up his stuff at Six Slice Cinema.
Is that six as in the number, or sick as in?
Sick as in you're sick.
Got it.
And then Slice Cinema.
Perfect.
He's really talented. His name's Hayden. He just banged that out for me, so that was cool with him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Next, we meet people in the town, including a creep show of an alcoholic stepdad.
Now, what's that supposed to mean, huh? That I don't take good care of your mom? I haven't heard any complaints from her lately.
And then we're in the poetry class with the inspiring teacher.
So, Whitman and Evil. Johnny?
Evil?
Yeah, Johnny. Evil Knievel.
They introduce Johnny, who is easily a 30-year-old high school student. Johnny is so old. I mean, even by 80s high school standards, where everyone's 25, Johnny looks like he should probably be teaching this class. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah, he's in all of John Fasano's films, and he also works as doing some of the special effects, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, for these kind of movies, they don't really care about the age of these people.
Right,
They'll hire a 40-year-old to be like, a toddler, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Then the teacher says something really insane, which is that there's never been a rock concert in this town, which I was like, what?
I don't think your parents want to stop the concert just to annoy you. It's just that they're afraid of change. There's never been a rock concert in this town. They probably don't know what to do with one.
Well, we know what to do with one. Enjoy ourselves. Have a good time for once. They don't understand what a great honor this is.
It's like Footloose, but for heavy metal. And then I wrote the note, more insane synth score. This was when I was really just like, what is happening with this soundtrack?
Yeah, it's really strange.
It's so weird. Then we have the dad say...
Have you heard anything about these Black Roses concerts, son?
Which is pretty... He's reading the newspaper, it's in a small town, so I don't know. I'm just impressed by their press there. John's dad's reading the newspaper, and Johnny's making a badass puffy paint Black Roses back patch, and it's the exact same logo. Like, he's really talented, because it's the same logo that they have on their drum kits and everything. Are you going to have any back patches, do you think, Tuff Turf?
Back patches, probably not. I mean, people want to buy shirts and cut them out, feel free.
Okay, that's a good choice.
Yeah, but I got some images from fans before where they like made their own. A couple years ago, a couple kids sent me like a jean jacket they did from scratch. I was like, damn, it looked pretty good. I give them credit.
That's awesome. And that was probably for the first album?
That was for Alone and Cold, like the very first Tuff Turf full length.
Yeah, will that ever be up on iTunes?
Is this a request for it to be on iTunes?
Well, I mean, I'm just no. I can use SoundCloud or whatever, but I was just curious.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe if people have interest and I get enough messages and people bother me enough about it, maybe it just costs a lot of money to keep stuff up on like Spotify, iTunes, all those places.
Oh, so. Sure.
Yeah.
Then we have the PTA reading lyrics, and the head lady looks like Nancy Reagan, but she's spouting Tipper Gore, and that's definitely Julie Andrews in the film.
Their satanic music and subversive lyrics threaten to undermine the very fabric of our society. Would you care to hear some of their propaganda? You just listen to this, and you tell me if this isn't the work of the devil himself. Tear down the walls of hell, make room for lust to dwell. Carry in your hands a sword, tear away the image of the Lord.
And then there's a scene where Johnny climbs a lamp pole. And I don't know if you remember this, but he's walking down the street with Julie, I think. And he's like jumping and swinging on poles. And like, it's so weird because it's like a grown man was like, I've seen what kids do. And it's like, it's just so bizarre. I've watched it more times than most of the film, probably. Just being like, what an interesting choice.
Definitely.
Then there's a moment where the teacher thinks he sees the band, and then a paint can bursts into flames. And I'm not even sure.
I didn't understand that part at all.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you know you could go to jail, right? It's like for having a paint can.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a tenuous case for the police to take up. But I'm guessing he stole it.
Yeah, he stole it, and then he was supposedly, according to the original script, gonna paint a 5-foot red line in the middle of town. I don't know what that means exactly, but yeah, it's very bizarre.
Whoa.
But the next day, the teacher hones in on Johnny, who's totally bullshitting, and kind of has a little back and forth with Johnny. Each line is completely amazing. And
believe in yourself. Have confidence. Take the bull by the horns.
Take the bull by the horns, huh? Well, you'd know about throwing the bull, wouldn't you?
And then in the hallway, we are introduced to Tony, who's a real D-bag. He's the one that does the blowjob hand motion at Julie.
About last night.
About last night.
Come on.
And Tony actually sculpted a lot of the monsters and demons in the movie, which is pretty cool. And then the town shows up for the show, and we don't know where they came from and how they started, but we also don't know that about Tuff Turf. So how did you start Tuff Turf?
Tuff Turf started in 2013, pretty much just as a studio project, just writing songs and trying to stay creative, doing other stuff. So before that, I was I have a hip hop project called JEFF, and I've been doing that for a long time, and just wanted to do something a little different. And just recorded a little 4-song demo and threw it on Bandcamp. The response was really good, so kind of just kept writing songs and kind of developing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the band plays the softest of rock and roll songs ever. And their jackets and hair completely match. My Hometown is the masterpiece that they start off with. And 2 of the band members, I think it's bass and drums, but I could be wrong, co-wrote Do You Think I'm Sexy?
No, I don't think they're sexy. I would like to answer the question for them.
Okay, cool. Well, that's their claim to fame, I believe. And speaking of masterpieces, the Tuff Turf song Lonely Only is the type of white-hot passion that my 20-year-old self would have mainlined, drank alone, and howled into the night while dancing.
Well, I appreciate that. I wish there was more 20-year-olds like that now. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it's just one of those, like, I heard it, like, warped me back to those days of just, like, being like, why am I so, like, nobody loves me? And then listening to that. And it's not a wallowing in self-pity. It's also, like, I don't know, you have this, like, there's, like, I don't want to say sense of danger, but there's something sort of edgy in there that is like a bare nerve that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, that song really, it's not supposed to be like, I'm lonely only. Really,
right.
The song's just about, like, the exact opposite. How, you have to be tough enough to never feel lonely, basically.
Yeah, and it's just like the beatless beginning, and then when the beat comes in, it's just like, it's just structured so well, so I just wanted to give a shout out to Lonely Only.
Appreciate it.
And then the second they leave, the parents leave, it goes from white coats to leather on everybody and 1 leopard print codpiece, which is pretty amazing. No codpieces for Tuff Turf?
No, nothing like that. Tuff Turf is like black t-shirts with the sleeves cut off, Turn off the gun show. Know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Yeah.
I immediately went online to try to buy the soundtrack to Black Roses, but it's only available on compact disc, but I still might have to do it. The next day, the kids appear in school. They're all disconnected, and the teacher's like, what's going on? Some of them have started to wear black. And then Tony pipes up.
Well, Tony, the aim of literature isn't to tell you what to do with your life. It's to tell you how to live it wisely.
Oh, yeah? What Mr. Whitman think of what you've done with your life?
As the most Italian small-town guy, and the teacher tells him, get some sleep. There's a weird street fight where Tony straight up just chokes a dude. It's like the weirdest, it's not even a fight. He punches him once, and then he's literally just choking him on the ground. And then he picks another guy up by his 50180's crotch and just body slams him in the street. It's incredible fight choreography. He just specializes in lethal things, apparently. And then the teacher shows up to question the band.
If people would just listen to our music, they'd see we have a humanistic message for the kids. You know, social and environmental concerns. That kind of stuff.
Which leads us to an amazing scene where Tony is weightlifting with one arm, listening to metal, and Vincent Pastore enters as the dad. Did you recognize Vincent?
No, I did not.
So he's from The Sopranos, Carlito's Way. His voice was in A Shark's Tale. This was his very first film role. He's far older in all those other things.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. And I believe this scene was shot in Cindy Ferrigno's home, Lou Ferrigno's wife. And anyway, Vincent Pastore hates Tony's earring. He's very homophobic, and then makes a weird kind of pro-pirate statement. It's very bizarre.
An earring. Only two kinds of men wear earrings. Pirates and I don't see no ship on our driveway.
But if you look in the background, the set dressing, to make sure that you understood he's Italian, they put a red and white checkered like tablecloth on it, like you would see in an Italian restaurant. It totally distracted me from everything happening in the scene. I was just like, wait, what? Like, they went hard on that.
Yeah, that's true too. Like my mom's side of the family is very Sicilian and Italian and proud, and they all have that tablecloth.
Oh, were you serious?
Oh, that's everywhere, man.
Oh, okay. Because I don't.
It's an epidemic.
In Oregon, small towns, it's more of like, so you get the vibe that it's an Italian restaurant. I didn't know that it was actually based on anything in reality.
I mean, it's my reality.
That's good.
I'm from New Jersey. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So Vincent hates the music. He tries to turn the record off. The record begins to breathe. This is another scene that was added later because the distributors wanted more monsters. The sound gets weird, and through the speaker comes what can only be described as a giant penis-y bug demon.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's true. I would also describe it as that.
Okay, great. And then Vincent screams through the whole thing, and he really acted his ass off, but unfortunately they weren't recording sound, so they had to put this crazy score and weird monster sound over the top of it because they made a mistake. It's really insane. They tussle, and then you think it's going to eat his head, but instead it pulls Vincent Pastore's entire body back into the speaker.
Yeah, that was quite a scene.
Yes.
I could tell it was forced. I could tell it was pasted in. Now that you're telling me this, that it was pasted in later,
yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah. It's also really sad to think about what this movie would have been like without all these crazy things.
Yeah, it just would have been like kids walking around like wearing black shirts.
Yeah, not even with the sleeves cut off.
Yeah, not even with the sleeves cut off at all, which is just sad.
And then we see the town's kids are wearing all black. The band is back, and then we get the audience turning into demons and zombies for the first time. Just like flashes of the kids' faces normal, and then they're like zombie prosthetic things. Which is super wild. But if Tuff Turf's music turns fans into something, what would it turn them into?
Tuff Turf's music turned fans into something. Man, put me on the spot.
It's a tough question.
Barbells.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I can lift the haters out of my life.
Oh, I like that. See? That was
Got 'em.
That was good. And then the movie starts flip-flopping so quickly between flute and synth scores and the heavy metal that it's just mind-boggling. And then we have the teacher goes to argue with his ex, who has not been in the movie up to this point. We're like an hour into the movie, and it's only 82 minutes long. And then they introduce his ex.
I need to talk to someone.
Oh, yeah? Well, what about me?
You wouldn't be interested.
And what makes you think that?
Because it's about my students. And when have you ever been the slightest bit interested in my students?
I'm always interested in your little students. And their little books, and their little essays. Oh, and especially your little teacher's pet.
Leave Julie out of this.
Oh, so you knew exactly who I meant.
And the weirdest part about this is that he shows up at her house to argue with her. She's, 45 at least, and still lives with her dad. Her dad is like upstairs in the scene.
Yeah, that part was so weird. I didn't really understand what was going on at first, and I'm like, oh, I see. They had a thing, and then not anymore. But the dad is the school guy, and then I don't know.
It's weird. It's like the movie was written by someone that didn't know human relations, really. They're just like, no, I get it. You go to school when you're 38, and then you live with your dad until you're 84. I don't know. It's just really interesting. And then Johnny returns home. He goes to bed. He smokes in his bed because, again, he is 42 or something. And My Hometown comes back on, and there is a naked heavy metal lady in his room. And it might not shock you, Jeff, at this point to hear this part was also added into the movie because the distributors were like, we need more monsters and we need more breasts. So they added in this sequence.
Thank God, too, because at this point, by the time I'm this far into the movie and there was no boobs, I was like, all right, I'm about to turn this off. But then suddenly my attention was grabbed again.
Yeah, in the 80s, that's what they did. They're like, monster boobs. It's like Tarzan, that's just one to the other. And then we get a kid burning his toys because they're superheroes, and he's listening to Black Roses, so he calls the superheroes the bad guys as he's chucking them into the fire.
I never thought you'd be so mighty. Let's see how mighty you really are.
That kid is actually the son of the casting director, and he went on to storyboard the film Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. So that's a fact I know that I wish I didn't know. Yeah.
Trivia, though.
Speaking of the toys feeling heat, the Tuff Turf song Body Heat is one of my favorites.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a song that I do.
Yep. Do you do that one live?
I do that one live. Awesome. Yeah, that's that's like my ode to the Lost Boys, pretty much. A Tim Capello and what's that one song called? Cry Little Sister.
Oh,
something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like the opening song to Lost Boys. That was like my version of it.
Yeah, it's right on there. That's fantastic.
That was the goal.
Well, you accomplished it. Then we get the awkward girl with her friend, and they approach the dad. All the kids are basically becoming evil. Tony backs up and just murders his mom, just runs her over. Then Tina is creeping on the other girl's dad.
That's right, Tina. We have Daddy all to ourselves.
Johnny has sex with the demon, but when he gets up, she's gone. And then he gets a gun, enters the room where his dad is, and...
Couldn't sleep, son? How was that concert tonight? What's the matter, son?
I love you, Dad.
In a weird movie where there hasn't been any real blood on screen, he just shoots his dad in the face.
Yeah. He says, I love you, Dad, and then he just opens fire.
It's so gnarly. I was just like, wait, what? It's pretty crazy.
I think all the kills in this movie were totally unoriginal. There was no kill where I was like, all right, that was cool. It was just okay, he gets sucked into into a speaker, and then that one he just shoots them randomly. It's just very random.
Yeah,
Like
well,
they were pasted in after the fact.
Yeah, they didn't have a budget for blood, so I think all the blood you see is like flicked at a picture frame in that scene. Um, then the dad wins strip gin, and then Tina is topless. That's the second 80s breast scene.
That was a good scene. I like that scene.
In that scene, she was supposed to basically fuck him to death, but the actress refuses to, so you can actually see her sit on his lap and just freeze. And then she refuses to do anything. So that scene originally in the script was like the sex to death moment, but it did not.
That would have been a good original kill.
Yeah. So, but the actress said no.
Dang.
And then you got bad kids, bad music, bad deal is what they say. And the kids are killing all the old people, so it must be the music. But what inspired you to start any music at all?
Well, my dad plays music. My dad was a musician. Played in bands and stuff like that.
So you grew up around it?
Definitely, yeah. Both my parents are fans of music. So when I was young, they encouraged me to play an instrument and kind of just went from there. Started playing guitar when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And that's pretty much it. Just started getting into, punk and hardcore and stuff like that, and kind of just went from there.
That's awesome. Then Janie goes to a therapist, and he says, don't suppress things, and he recommends scream therapy, and he opens the window so she can scream.
You know, I often thought of using screaming in my therapy, in my work.
And suddenly she has a demon face and pushes him out the window. He does a full backflip into the back of a truck. It's pretty amazing. And we're supposed to guess he's dead, even though it wasn't really too far of a fall. But
I felt the same thing about the kill where he backs the kid backs up into the mom.
Yeah.
Like, she could probably survive that. I was like, come on, get up. What are you doing?
He just barely bumped her, really. But and then the teacher's in a school library reading a pile of witchcraft books, which again, for this small town, it's impressive. It's quite a stack of witchcraft books he has in there. Then Julie shows up, and Johnny is just lurking. He's just like got this pose, like he's just like hanging out. She talks to him for a while. It's not very interesting. Then Damien is performing, and he has no eyes, and he says, "Let's make Blood City."
Let's make Blood City.
Which I don't know what that means, and we had to rewind it last night 5 or 6 times, and 3 of us be like, no, he's saying, let's
make Blood City.
Make what? Wait, what is it?
Let's make Blood City.
He says, let's make Blood City, which should have been the name of the movie, I think. Or the
Blood
name,
City would have been better.
Or the name of the next Tuff Turf album. Let's make Blood City.
Blood City, yeah. All right. I'll add to the list.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then there's a scene of boob groping that's just goes for about 10 minutes, and it's not going to shock you, but it was added because of the distributors. They wanted 10 more minutes of boobs, so that's why the shot is just boobs. She's just groping her chest for that entire time because they had to fill it. So they were like, just shoot it. It can be anybody.
It makes sense. When I was watching the scene after it was done, I was like, literally, there was no reason for that to happen at all.
No, that was
Zero.
This was the scene that got them distribution because they were like, okay, we can move this movie now. It's crazy. But I mean, in the 80s, who knows? People might have rented it just for that one scene.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Can't blame them. Sex sells.
Yep.
You really do know how to take care of your old stepdad, don't you?
And then the lady with the gross stepdad, she brains him with a giant ashtray, which is one of the more brutal kills, I guess, in the whole film. And then Julie's in the lady's car, the ex, and she slits her throat in a pretty aggressive throat-slitting scene as well. They're really upping the kills at this point in the movie. And then the music is better fitting a Western. It's so bizarre that it's like you expect someone galloping on a horse, and it's so insane. Then he gets the call that her car was set on fire, and that she died in the fire, which is confusing.
The way he says it is hilarious. He's like, hey, yeah, Pris, she's dead. It's just like
her car was set on fire.
Think he killed her, you know?
Yeah.
Her car caught on fire. She's dead. Her car caught on fire. And girl's dead.
And then Julie shows up to seduce him. She disrobes, and there's another breast shots. Her breasts in this movie were played by 3 different actors, which is pretty interesting.
Julie, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He then swats her away in a very weird way, and then she turns with her demon face and starts to transform. There's an optical effect there that happens, and then she has this crazy demon body situation.
Yeah.
And he fights her with a tennis racket and a tennis ball.
Yeah, it's the whole scene. I was like, you could just run and it would be just as just as good. Like, why are you trying to? Like, what's going on here?
It's so crazy. And then he stabs her through the heart, and she dies. I mean, there's just so much violence, which brings up another Tuff Turf song. It's another one of my favorites.
Yep, violence. It's a good ender.
Yeah,
it really. Ender song.
It's super good. Although I bet it's hard to pick. How do you select? Like, do you just write the songs, look at a group of them, and then just be like, this is first, this is second? Because I feel like both of the last 2 albums have like a really nice flow to them.
Yeah, I think. Usually for an album, I'll write a lot more songs than end up making it on the album. So this album was 12 songs. So there's more like 20 to 30 songs written for it. So I have a pretty big selection on what kind of goes and what makes sense, and so it makes the order part of it pretty easy.
Nice.
So yeah, I generally it's kind of organic, just kind of write, record, and things kind of come together on their own.
Yeah, I also really like just the layered sort of sound of Tuff Turf. It's very comforting to me in a way, and that there's no fat. Every song is like trimmed of everything. It's just the necessities, and I really appreciate that sort of punk aesthetic.
Yeah, I consider new wave to be a subgenre of punk or something like that.
For sure.
And honestly, it just really annoys me when bands have like 5-minute songs where they do the chorus like 9 times, and there's like they repeat the first verse for the 3rd or 4th verse. It's just like really annoying to me. It's like, I don't know. It's too much.
Yeah, I agree. I would rather just re-listen to the song again, which is what I do with your stuff. If I'm stuck on a specific song, I'm like, okay, well, then I'm just going to listen to it over,
Yeah, if I have something to say in a song, I just say it and then move on to the next.
Right. At this part, I wrote that I love the creature effects because that whole sequence is crazy. And I believe it was mostly sculpted by Tony, I think, except for the arm. I could be wrong there. But that brings us to the final concert. Do you have any favorite songs to perform live right now?
Favorite songs to play? I like doing Dead 14.
Yeah.
That's an oldie. That's fun. Body Heat's fun. The set right now, depending on the show, it's just like 20 or 30 minutes, depending on which show I'm playing. So it's pretty tightly packed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
And then the teacher, he's got a can of gas and some road flares, and he crawls right up to the front of the stage while the band is performing, and the kids are all completely oblivious to him. But the band apprehends him.
What'd you do with my kids, you son of a bitch?
Your kids. You had your chance. Now they're mine.
What in the hell?
Yes. Hell.
And Damien pulls off his wig and transformed into a giant lizard demon.
Yeah, and it's like not the same as the beginning of the movie.
No,
so
not
I was,
at
like,
all.
Totally disappointed because I was like, it's all building up to them being the demon band again.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't, and then I was like, okay, so what's going on here?
Yeah, it's super bizarre. And then the ultimate boring battle of good versus evil takes place, and a lot of flailing happens, and the Marlboro Man kicks a demon in the testicles, which is something I'd never said before. That's a good sentence. And then he lights the flare and he says, "Show's over," but it's really quiet in the mix, so you kind of miss like his big line. And then the fire happens on stage. And here's the part that I didn't understand until like the third viewing, but my brother-in-law Dave noticed it. The second the fire starts and Damien as the lizard man is like flailing, like, oh no, the band starts playing.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that.
It's so weird. Like, what? He's like, here's
the whole
fire.
ending is just
yeah.
The whole ending is just ridiculous. Like it's like this tiny 1 foot off the floor stage.
Yes.
And he's like trying to sneak around and throw gas on the stage, but it's like 2 feet from the band, so it's like they would obviously instantly notice you. Like,
well, an interesting thing about this sequence is that like in this town there was one theater that they could use as a movie theater, and it was showing RoboCop, and so they would set up between the I think it's the last showing of RoboCop and before the next showing of RoboCop, so they would build that stage and that set, shoot, and then take it all down so they could show RoboCop in this theater, and then they'd have to rebuild it all again. Which
so it makes sense. It was a pretty low effort stage, you know?
Yeah, low set dressing. It's pretty crazy. So the kids leave, and then it's 6 months later. Oh, well, the kids leave, and you see all the kids not remember, because they're coming out of the spell that they had murdered all of their parents in the entire town. So they're all going to need therapy, but I think the therapist also has been murdered. So then we get 6 months later.
The band's controversial lead singer, Damien, told News 87, "It's always been my dream to play Madison Square Garden. I knew I could count on New Yorkers for their support."
And the Black Roses are playing Madison Square Garden, and then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. It's perfect, just the way it is.
It's set up for Black Roses 2, when they go to New York is what they were going for. But sadly, there was not to be more Black Roses. But they
really survived that burning scene at the end there pretty well, huh?
Yeah, well, I guess
where they were on fire.
Demons and fire. I mean, I don't know. I think he should have chose a different weapon. I mean, I don't know what weapon you would choose, but I can't imagine he was reading all those witch books and it's like, yeah, fire is probably what you'd send him back to hell.
Yeah.
He didn't really learn anything in any of those books. Now that I think about it. He was just sitting there.
That dude was creepy anyway, man. I'm telling you what, that kid loved his kids way too much. Like that scene where he has like the picture on the wall.
Yes.
And, like, a few of his students. It's like, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah. Well,
What's wrong with him?
It's confusing because they're all the same age. But he like gets a beer and he's drinking out of a really weird glass, plays like a Beethoven song, and then just looks at his kids in a picture. I was like, I don't feel right about this guy.
Yeah, it was very serial killer-ish or something. Or
yes.
Obsessive,
Oh, yeah. He's got a skin suit somewhere. But
yeah, for sure.
So that brings me to the final questions. Do you have any final thoughts on Black Roses before we move on?
Black Roses, God. It was a little painful to get through, I must say. It's a very, very special movie. The songs in it are quite good.
Yeah. The metal songs.
The metal, yes. The metal songs, quite good. And those are my final thoughts. I don't know.
Nice.
I wanted more Lambos because they had the Lambos in the beginning, but
yeah, one of them didn't even work. The director had to like push it into the shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
They got the Fambos, the fake Lambos.
Yeah, for sure. They were donated by like a car lot in that town, I believe, but for the film. But okay, what's a good day like for you and Tuff Turf?
A good day, like in my regular life or in my Tuff Turf life?
Ooh, let's do regular.
A good day? I'm a workaholic, so basically I'm always working on projects. I have, outside of music, I have a handful of projects I work on pretty much every day that, work on one of my various music projects. I have a ton of hobbies and stuff like that. Honestly, like I'm pretty much never bored, never have that much free time.
Nice. And then what's a
good
day
like for me is just wake up and start doing my thing.
Nice. And what about Tuff Turf?
Yeah, for Tuff Turf, I mean, on tour, really it's just all business, you know. Wake up in a hotel, drive to the next show, figure stuff, someplace to eat, kind of figure out load in time, you know, stuff like that. It's pretty standard. Like a lot of people think touring is like this glamorous thing, but really it's just it's harder work than most people's 9 to 5s because you got to be constantly traveling. You got to be nice to people you don't really feel like being nice to.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
all stuff like that. So.
And what's a bad day like for you?
A bad day would be a day where I don't have my shit. Like on tour, that's the worst part about touring is when I don't have my stuff, I can't work. You know, I don't have I don't have my gear, so I can't really like lay down any, you know, demos or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to write on the road because, you know, you're just too busy. Just, you know, not being able to work and be creative. That's a bad day.
Yeah. And what's your favorite thing about Tuff Turf?
My favorite thing about Tuff Turf?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough question. To me, I just see it as a vessel for just to, you know, write the songs I want to write and release them.
Yeah.
So.
It would be tough for me to pick as well. Do you have any advice for anyone interested in sort of getting, like, using a musical project to sort of, you know, put out there into the world?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it depends what they were asking for advice-wise. If they were just asking, you know, just generally, I would just say, just, you know, kind of have fun with it, do your own thing, be original, and fuck anyone who gets in your way, pretty much, because, you know, everyone's a hater, especially as you kind of climb the ladder. There's going to be a lot of haters out there. You got to just close the curtain on them. Know what I mean?
Yeah. So you recommend people sort of have tough skin when they go out there and not listen to negative feedback?
Yeah, you know, generally speaking, yeah. 'Cause you got to remember most people are average by design, right? Just by the definition of average. So, you know, and a lot of people are jealous and will try to kind of try to bring you down. And this goes for all aspects of everyone's life, honestly. Like you're always in competition with everyone around you, whether you know it or not. So people will always try to bring you down. And if you find people in your life that aren't like that, that'll actually try to lift you up no matter what, those are your real friends. You know, everyone else is just, you know, just kind of shoo them out of the way.
Yeah. Have you encountered any kind of negativity towards the Tuff Turf project?
Oh yeah, of course.
Really?
I mean, there's haters all over the place, man. Doesn't matter what genre of music you're doing. Doesn't matter, you know, how good or how bad you are or whatever. It's just there's always going to be people who, you know, who want to pop shit and kind of, you know, start trouble. Especially, like I said, as you're kind of climbing the ladder a little bit more. You know. So there's direct ways that people are haters, and there's indirect ways. So.
Well, yeah. I am not a fan of that.
Yeah, it just comes with the territory, man. Just kind of being like, you know, it's kind of a douchey way of saying it, but like a public figure, you know, like
yeah.
Where it's like you're putting your stuff out there, you're putting pictures of yourself on Instagram, and kind of like putting your songs you wrote out there. There's always going to be people who are like, you know, trying to take the piss out of you. So
yeah, that's kind of like I think an important part for any of these episodes is like I really hope that at least one person hears one of these and it's like, I'm going to do it regardless, because so many people, I think, hide the things that they're passionate about or are talented about because of negative feedback, or because some person they don't even know that likes everything different from what they like is going to say that they don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, what it comes down to is you always have to advocate for yourself. I don't care if we're talking about music or your job or your relationships or whatever you're doing. You have to advocate for yourself. You kind of have to take the reins, and, you know, don't expect anyone to do anything for you, because they're probably not going to 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you want to be successful in your mind, you have to do that on your own.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my advice, kiddos.
Perfect.
And, go to school, get a job, and that's the rest of it.
Oh, that's good too. Which leads us to my final question and my favorite question. Jeff, what are your dreams like?
What are my dreams like? Be more specific.
So are they like related to your artistic output, or just
you
random?
Mean literally my dreams?
Oh,
like
yeah,
when I'm
yeah.
sleeping?
Yeah.
I don't remember my dreams, man. And dreams are just, internal haters anyway. You just kind of stop thinking about them, whatever.
Yeah, which sometimes isn't easy. Something else that's never easy is a song by Tuff,
Mm-hmm.
which
That's
features Tim Capello.
Yes, it does.
How did you get Tim Capello on your record?
I just asked him, I hit the Capellinator up, and he was down to do it. It was really quite easy. His email address is on his Facebook page.
Yeah.
That was it, really. He was really easy to work with. Obviously,
So you sent him the track and then he just recorded it?
Yeah, I sent him the track. He said I really liked it. I'd like to do a part on it. That's pretty much it. I mean, he sent back. It's actually a funny story because there's just that one part where the solo is.
Yeah.
But he was like, "Look, I'm just gonna send you way too much sax. I'm gonna send you so much sax." And I was like, "All right, man, do whatever you want." So he actually sent me the entire song back with sax all over it. And then obviously so maybe someday I'll do the Tim Capello version where it's just I take the vocals out. It's just him ripping sax the entire time.
That's amazing. That's the single right there. That's the B-side.
I'm not even kidding. Like it was painful for me to have to put my own vocals over it because I was like, I think it's better just with Tim's sax on it.
That's incredible. For anyone that doesn't know, that's the sax man from the Lost Boys. That's who we were talking about earlier. But
yeah, he's on a tour right now, actually, like a U.S. tour. So, unfortunately, I was on tour as well, so I didn't get to go to the Philadelphia show, which was the closest one. But I'm sure he's out there killing it, all lubed up.
yeah, for sure. I do love seeing all the pictures of him on Instagram, just always smiling, and it looks like he's a great person with all the fans. So.
Yeah, he lives in New Jersey as well. He lives in North Jersey.
Oh man, do you guys ever meet up for sandwiches or?
I've never met Tim. That would be cool. Maybe someday we'll perform. It's never easy together.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be an honor for sure.
Cool. Well, that brings us to the end of Black Roses. I want to thank you so much for being up for this, for making time to watch the movie, and for taking time to talk to me about it.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed being on. I really appreciate you. And been enjoying the show. Been checking out some of the other episodes. So just keep doing your thing. I'm digging it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you.